Well, as we kick off 2025, a lot of people consider what they want to do in the new year, what they want it to look like, and how they can put their best foot forward. So this episode is all about new year, new me, how to change your money attitude. We'll have a lot of things to talk through with Lee, how to change some old habits and make them new in 2025.
Welcome to the My Retirement Clarity Podcast, where our goal is simple, to help you close the gap between what you know and what you implement. The team at Perkins Wealth Management does this by helping good people make great decisions so they can enjoy an amazing retirement. And now, here's your host and financial advisor, Lee Perkins.
Well, hello, welcome in. It is the start of a new year here on My Retirement Clarity. I'm Ben George with Lee Perkins, owner and financial advisor at Perkins Wealth Management. Lee, I hope you and the whole team, family had a great holiday and new year.
Yep, it was a lot of fun. Just being with our immediate family and got to spend some time with my parents, and that's always awesome as they continue to age. We know our time together during the holidays is probably on the clock at this point. But yeah, had a good time. Had several groups of friends over on multiple occasions, had folks over on New Year's Eve. And so as I get older, we don't really want to be out on New Year's Eve. That's right. Not our scene, but Pam has allowed us to open up the house and we had 7 or 8 couples over on New Year's Eve and watch some football and
nice.
Just had a good time. So yeah, it was fun. Hope yours was good as well.
Yeah, it was. I'm sorry that the football season didn't work out. I know like you and a lot of the private people at your house watching the games would have hoped, but still a good season.
Yeah, us Georgia Bulldog fans were kind of licking our wounds. Man, we need to do a show one day and just talk about college football and how the transfer portal and the NIL and all that has just changed college football. Because boy, it's it is a different beast, and I think the portal has definitely leveled the playing field. And teams like Georgia and Alabama and some of the traditional powerhouses, you're not going to keep those 4- and 5-star kids on your roster if they are not getting playing time. So depth has really suffered.
Yeah, even when they are getting playing time, they still leave. So it's
that's
a
true,
tough,
because
tough
it's
landscape. I also, I wonder if any of these guys are getting financial advisors yet, Lee. They need to start thinking that way to manage that money, because they're making quite a bit in many cases.
Absolutely.
Well, I want to jump in today. Again, new year, new me. We want to try to help you change your attitude about money. I know that's a big thing for a lot of people. Financial goals are often on the table when the new year rolls around. So, Lee, my plan today is to throw out the old habit for you, the way that people might have been behaving, and let you kind of change the mindset and give us some tips to break those old habits. How's that sound?
Yeah, I don't see a whole lot of people or enough people making financial resolutions. And so hopefully this show will help kind of give some people some ideas.
Awesome. Well, we got 5 to go through today. If you have anything on your mind that you want to follow up with Lee and the team at Perkins Wealth Management there in Macon, Georgia, easiest thing to do is go to talkwithjlp.com. You can schedule a meeting right there through the website, talkwithjlp.com. All right, here's the habit, Lee, we all need to try to break. If you are someone that likes to overspend, you're someone that lives beyond your means, and I think we all kind of do that at some point, how can we break that habit?
Yeah, I think really the best way to break the habit is just you really need to know what the financial consequences of your decisions today are and how those impact what your life is going to look like in 10 or 15 years. Now, again, this really just kind of depends on how old you are and what your age and stage in life is. But I would tell you, the people that get to the end of their working career, if they didn't overextend themselves too much while they were working, they're going to have more options than those that did. And so really our society kind of right now just tells us, hey, live for today, every day for today, spend without any kind of consideration of the future. And I'm okay with that to a point, but I think there's a healthy balance. And so if you're living beyond your means right now, that means you are sacrificing. A lot of people, that are in their 20s and 30s, they're just not saving for retirement at all. And I think that's a big mistake, because the main thing that somebody that's young has, on their side is time, and your time in the market, not the timing of the market. is the best thing that you can do. So, enjoy yourself, buy things that you need to buy, but don't do the impulse buys. My wife is good about not impulse buying.
Hmm.
I joke on the show all the time that she's a an all pro at spending money.
Hmm.
And she is, but she spends money more often, and I spend more money less often. If that makes sense. The things I buy cost more, things she buys are less, but she thinks through things way more than I do. I'm more of an impulse buyer than she is. So yeah, if you're somebody who is an impulse buyer, just kind of step back a little bit and look into that and consider, hey, if I'm going to spend $1,000 on this thing, do I really need it? And would that $1,000 be better off? Could that make more of a difference in my life when I retire? So that's kind of how I would encourage people to look at it. Don't overspend. Definitely don't live beyond your means. And that's something that your parents have been telling you, and my parents have been telling me since we were probably teenagers. So very good advice.
Yeah, that's a big one. If you can change that, it can really help you start saving money towards retirement and kind of building that nest egg that you want to hopefully live that life and have that financial freedom later on. All right, Lee, here's the old you, saving to a fault, right? On the opposite end of this is someone that just likes to put money away and won't spend at all. They just don't enjoy using that money because whether they're afraid or whatever goals they might have. But how do you kind of break that and actually enjoy and live life a little bit?
Yeah, so this is really kind of the 180 from what we just talked about. And I do battle this with some of my clients now, people that have retired and that are afraid to use their money. I'm okay while you're in that accumulation phase. I want you to be diligent about your saving, but I don't want you to save, and never enjoy it. And that does happen a lot. I know there's a lot of people listening. They're like, yeah, that's not me, but there are people that save to a fault. And this really causes stress when somebody first retires because they've saved all the money. One spouse wants to do something. The other one is like, no, we can't spend. I want to save it for a rainy day. And I'll tell you, Ben, lots of times the rainy day, it doesn't happen. And people unfortunately pass away early on and they never got to use the money and enjoy it. And like I talk about on the show, the older you get, the less options that you have from a physical standpoint. You can do things at whatever age you are today. You can do things now that you're not going to be able to do in 5 years or 10 years or 15 years. So enjoy it. That's why I always tell people, have a couple of different savings accounts. Have one savings account that is an emergency fund that truly is for emergencies, and then have another account that is a trip or stuff fund. And I talk about the trip or stuff fund on this show pretty frequently. So what I've found and what I've seen with my clients is if they've earmarked that money for stuff or trips or experiences, they're more likely to spend that money than if they have to make a withdrawal out of their retirement account.
Okay, that's good to know. Yeah, I mean, find us some kind of middle ground there between overspending and not spending at all. Like there's a medium, right? Too far left or right, any extreme is going to be a bad thing. So, want to find a little bit of middle ground there.
Hey folks, Lee Perkins here. I wanted to tell you about our brand new book called Next Phase: How to Retire in a Year or Less Without Regrets. It's all about helping you prepare for the next phase of your life, whatever that looks like for you. So, if you're ready to make the most of your next phase, or if you're already retired and aren't sure you're doing all you can to get the most out of your retirement, then you'll want a copy of this book. All you have to do is text Next Phase to 478-475-2050, and we'll send you a copy right away. You can also access additional resources and register for one of our upcoming workshops at our website, www.myretirementclarity.com. Thanks for listening. Now back to the show.
All right. Another old habit to break as we change our money attitude for 2025 is if you don't know how much you have or where it is, and this is easy, Lee, as life goes on, you have these smaller accounts or just money you've set aside that you just kind of forget about, right? And you just don't have a full picture of what you have in your portfolio.
Yeah, believe it or not, this is a pretty common thing that we see. Every once in a while, somebody will come in and they'll bring us statements from 10 different accounts, and many times they're from old jobs that they had, and they worked somewhere for 3 or 5 years and had a 401k, and then they took another job and started another 401k, and they repeated that several times, and they never consolidated the accounts. And now all of a sudden they're 10 or 15 years removed from a job, but that money's still at the job and is still invested maybe the way it was back then. So I think it does make sense to consolidate assets to whatever extent that you can. But I really do like the idea of a one page kind of a net worth statement. And I started doing this about 2.5 years ago. I just did it in Excel and just added up our real estate, so our property, then our retirement accounts, and then for me, I added in our business money, and then our savings accounts. And I update that about every quarter, just so I kind of have an idea of where everything is and what it is. And if something happened to me, Pam could go there and say, okay, well, this is sort of what we have. So I think that's helpful. And a lot of people that have done that exercise, again, don't buy software to track it every month and pay for it every month. Just put it in an Excel spreadsheet, make it very simple and something that's useful. It doesn't have to be complex at all.
All right, very good. And Lee, I know one thing that you kind of offer to help people as they are trying to save for retirement, change some of these habits. You always have a book offer that we like to just provide for people that listen to the podcast, and we got a lot of good feedback from it.
Yeah, so the book is called Next Phase, basically how to retire in a year or less without regrets. And there's a lot of practical tips that we give for folks, really sort of in all phases of life, but specifically for somebody that's towards the end of their working career. There is some budgeting information in there, and it talks about the importance of saving and kind of doing things in the right order. So if you want a copy of that book, you can text Next Phase to 478-475-2050, and we'll send a copy out to you the same day.
Well, I love that. Take advantage of that. It's an easy, free tool that can give you a little bit of inside information. And again, follow up with Lee if you have any questions by going to talkwithjlp.com. All right, a couple more money habits we want to change and make better for you in 2025. And for people that like to pause investments, Lee, they like to look at the market, feel uncomfortable. We saw a lot of this around the election last year. I'm going to wait until things settle down some. How do we change that mindset and not look at, hey, what's happening right now?
Man, I've been beating my head against the wall for seems like 17 years on this exact same topic. And like you said, during the election, we had a client who's been a client for a couple of years now. He was in our office a month before the election, and everything's fine. Do we need to make any changes to your plan? Nope, I'm good. Literally called the day before the election, said, yeah, I want to pause my investments. And so we had to have the conversation. You can't really pause your investments. You either sell out or you change the strategy a little bit. We were able to keep him from just moving everything to cash, but he went almost as conservative as you can be. And then the day of the election, the market was up huge. The day after the election, the market was up huge. Mm-hmm. And then he called us the next day and said, yeah, I think I want to get back in. He did the exact opposite of what you should do. And we sort of did the math here in the office, me and Keith, my other advisor here. And this guy cost himself about $16,000.
Wow.
Because he let the news of the day and his emotions and what they say is going to happen, he let that all get in his way, and just made a poor decision. So keep your investments invested at all time. If you want to make subtle changes, that's fine, but don't try to time the market and get in and out. It's just not going to work.
Yeah, you would think, oh, just a couple of days, what's it going to hurt? And you just pointed out that's a pretty significant amount of money left on the table just by trying to time the market. So let's go ahead and crush that habit. I know you've been working on it for many years, but hopefully 2025 is the year. All right, last one, Lee. If you don't have a financial plan, right? If you just plan and hope for the best, that's your plan. Let's go ahead and change that as well, because we know, as we talk about here every single episode, planning is so important and crucial for success over the long term.
Absolutely. And I don't think it really matters what age you are. You need to plan. I played golf about 3 weeks ago with a guy who is 47. And he said, man, he asked me when, and because he knows what I do. He's a a buddy of a buddy of mine. So I've known him kind of for 3 or 4 years, and he's finally started asking me some financial questions. And he said, "Hey, when do I need to start planning?" And I said, "Dude, you need to plan right now." He wants to retire prior to the age of 60, so probably about 58. So he's 10 years out. This is a great time for him to plan because he now has the time to make any adjustments that need to be made. If he comes sees me a year before he retires, that's great. I can certainly help him. We will put that plan together, but I don't have the time to correct his course if he's off track just a little bit. So no matter if you're 30, 50, 60, or maybe even 65 years old and you want to retire in a year, now is the time to plan. Don't put it off any longer. I would really make this, if you're listening to the show today, I would make this your number one New Year's resolution. Even though I don't like New Year's resolutions because there's some kind of study out there that says, within the first 17 or 18 days, most of them are broken.
Right.
And I understand that's most of our New Year's resolutions usually involve losing weight or doing something health-wise. This financial one, I think, does make a lot of sense. So I would encourage you to make that step of getting a plan in place.
If you want to take that next step, start with going to talkwithjlp.com. Talkwithjlp.com. You could schedule a meeting right there through the website. Find a time that works for you. You can begin that process. And Lee, anyone that is ready to take that next step and begin that planning process, once they go ahead and schedule a time, what is that next step?
So most of the time they're going to that talkwithjlp.com, setting up about a 15-minute phone call for us to just kind of see what your challenges are, your concerns are, what financial difficulties or financial challenges do you face? And then we, on that phone call, will kind of assess if we think we can add value. And most of the time we can. We then bring somebody into the office, or if they're out of town, we get a lot of out of this area folks because of the podcast. We'll set up a Zoom meeting and kind of talk through things, gather some information, then we'll put together an analysis that shows you where you are right now. We'll show you some of the pitfalls that you could be headed towards if you don't make course corrections. And then we can kind of show you what things would look like if you engage our firm to help you going forward. So a very useful exercise. Doesn't cost anybody any money to do that, and we're happy to do it. We just want to make sure that we help people live the best retirement that they absolutely can.
Yep, it's a simple first step, and you can do it right now, talkwithjlp.com. But either way, we hope that you can maybe break one of these old habits this year. Take that just little steps, right? Don't try to do anything huge if you don't want to overwhelm yourself. Anything you do to take a positive step forward will pay big dividends over the long haul. So we hope this episode helps you out. So if you have any questions, follow up. If not, please subscribe to the show. We appreciate you listening as always. We'll have another episode of My Retirement Clarity coming in a couple of weeks. Lee, we'll talk to you then.
Appreciate it, man. Hey there, Lee Perkins here. If you're like a lot of folks, you've been listening to this podcast for a long time now, but I've got an important question for you. Have you implemented any of the ideas that we've discussed on the show? If you haven't, what are you waiting on? You know you're not getting any younger, so here's my challenge. Don't just consume the content. Our number one goal for this podcast is to help you close the gap between what you know and what you implement. So if you're ready to implement, take that first step today and visit www.talkwithjlp.com and schedule a 15-minute phone call with one of our advisors, and we'll help you close the gap between what you know and what you implement so you can enjoy the next phase of your life. Now is your time. Don't procrastinate any longer.
Investment advisory services are offered by J.L. Perkins Wealth Management, a registered investment advisor and insurance agency. Information is for illustrative purposes only and does not constitute tax, legal, or investment advice. Always consult with a qualified tax, legal, or investment professional before taking any action.